unsung Korean heroes look to secure their spot in the round of 16 today, whilst the European rising stars look to wrestle that away from them and their spot in the round of 16. This is the World Championship Series Europe Premier League. My name is James Carroll, and as always, alongside Sean Apollo Clark.
In the last WCS, we saw two evil geniuses fall victim to the WCS system. We saw two Team Liquid players rise, and today, Liquid's Bunny has the opportunity to complete the hat-trick to be the third player from Team Liquid to advance through. But today's tale of today's group is going to be all about Terran. It is a Terran day today, but not only that, it is also about Koreans making their stance in Season 2 of the WCS.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the group today. Group C, and what a group it is, as we have a fantastic lineup of players. 3 Terrans stand atop the pile here. A big variation in how they've set themselves up and their recent form, with a clear leader of the pack.
Yeah, and that man is jjakji. He finds himself deep in the rankings already, through multiple high placings in tournaments this year so far. jjakji leads the charge for Terran players today. He's not only looking at the season title, but he's probably looking past this group already. He's a clear favorite coming into this. But on the other side of things, we have Bunny, who must face his nightmares today. Korean Terran players. So far, every season that he's played within the WCS, he's been eliminated by them. Will this happen for the 4th season in a row for him? And then we have Yoda, who makes his debut today within the Premier League. Hard to believe that just over a year ago, he was holding a trophy on stage as a world champion. He has a lot of work cut out if he wants to get back to that level.
And then last but not least, we have our Protoss, who I would consider to be the underdog of this group. He's making his debut in Premier League as well, and it was a long struggle to get here, but today's not going to be any easier.
An underdog and an outsider is Harstem coming into this. It took him 16 attempts, 16 qualifiers to finally make it here today for his debut. Not only that, Harstem comes into this as the lowest seeded player in today's group. There has only been one player since September the 11th in 2013 to advance from that position to the round of 16.
Yeah, 14 groups in the round of 32 in that time frame. So a daunting task ahead of Harstem for sure. But now let's take a look at how the matches are going to be lining up for today's Group C.
And as always, we have 5 best of 3s for you coming today. Starting off with jjakji versus Harstem, followed closely by Yoda and Bunny. The winners of those will play off against each other in the upper bracket and move through to first place in Group C. The lower bracket players will then, 3 of them, have to fight for our second slot.
Yep. It's time for match 1 of the day, guys, as we have 2 formidable players looking to try and move forward. It's going to be jjakji, one of the most dominant Terran forces in Europe, going up against our WCS newcomer in Harstem.
Yeah, this matchup for me, just looking at it on screen now, jjakji is the favorite here, and he always will be whenever these 2 players play in recent times. jjakji's going to enter this relaxed, uncomposed. There's no reason for him to feel pressure at this point, because the last time they played, not even that long ago, he won 3-0 against Harstem. Very, very convincing for jjakji. But one advantage that Harstem has to hold on to today, and really hold on tight if he wants to make it out of this group, is that he's only had to practice for 1 matchup. And that is a really, really big thing for him, which has allowed him to practice and train over 300 games just for today's group, just against Terran players. He'll be looking to hone on his defense, his aggression, and his builds. If practice plays out, then this won't be as simple as everyone makes it to be.
Yeah, let's take a more magnified look now at our first player in this match. It's jjakji, a guy that for me personally, here in the European scene, ever since moving here, is looking for that championship. But where is that championship, Sean?
That's a big question, and only one man knows the answer, and it's that guy right there. The thing is with jjakji is, for me, looking at him as a player, he's a complete package. He's an all-round deal, but he misses just the spark of brilliance which separates him from being very good and then being a champion. He needs to find that spark again, like he once had a very, very long time ago. But no doubt, jjakji is a powerhouse player. He's reached 3 semifinals in the last 6 months, but it's been a long time since that final victory that he got 899 days ago. He's moved from region to region, from Korea to Europe coming into 2014 in search of that final, in search of that first place. If he doesn't reach it somehow, some way this year, I'd be very, very surprised.
And then we have our second player in our first match. We have Fnatic's Harstem, who, again, the big, big underdog of this group, the wild card. He's got a lot to overcome, but just Terrence, just Terrence.
Harstem has been growing and gaining more and more followers and fans as time goes on. Because of his outgoing personality, he's a lovable character and people can relate to his funny personality. But now is the time to further that, to push it a step further. And by advancing today, he can do that. But it's not going to be easy. No matter how hard he's trained, no matter how many hours he's put into this, it's going to be difficult. And it'll probably be the most difficult task that he'll ever have to accomplish, well, as accomplished recently. Reaching the round of 16 and attaining Premier League for another season will probably be the highlight of his career in StarCraft 2 so far.
All right, well, we're almost ready now for game number 1 between these two players. But, you know, as you mentioned before, with these two players butting heads, it really is kind of a big, big difference in terms of levels that these guys have played on the grand stage. Harstem has the chops to be able to do it if his practice kind of comes to fruition, but it's still a tall order. Yeah,
the practice that he would have put into this in all those games, as mentioned before, is just crafting his play, making sure there are no weak points. Because when they played last, Harstem, in all fairness to him, had some pretty good builds and found himself in the lead in a couple of the games there. And he has done against other Terran players in the past too. The problem is, somehow the Terran player cracks the defense and that lead is gone. Through the practice games, hopefully he's been able to eliminate that to give him the best possible opportunity here. But in all fairness, jjakji, his cards are on the table. He's got nothing to hide today. He'll come into this, he'll play a standard game, he'll play as rock solid as he does every single time. And that type of player, as much as it's hard to play against, they are a little bit predictable. And that's where jjakji fell in the previous season to MC. Being predictable also means you can be exploitable.
That's true. All right, guys. We're getting ready now to jump into game number 1 of the day here in Group C to kick us off for our first best of 3 out of these 5 series that we're going to have today. Thank you very much for tuning in. So let's jump into our first series as we have, spawning on Habitation Station, up to the top right-hand corner, our blue Protoss. Representing Fnatic, it is Harstem. And up to the top left-hand corner, our red Terran, representing My Insanity, it's jjakji.
All right, here we go. Game number 1 of the World Championship Series Group C. And this is where the momentum really starts to roll for either side here. First of all, one difference that we can note is we do not see a flying command center towards the center of the field, towards that gold base, which has been a common Terran strategy within Korea. But despite jjakji being Korean, that's not his choice to open up this series.
Yeah, we saw it today during Pro League, and it has been quite crazy. I think they call it Gangnam style over there for some reason, going over
because
to those high human levels.
Cheesy as hell.
That's certainly another reason, yeah. But anyway, for now, we're just having jjakji. I wouldn't be surprised if we see jjakji, as always, as you were mentioning before, with the predictability, just opening up very, very standard, just trying to transition onto the mid-game, where I feel that jjakji packs the most punch, you know, like going straight into that kind of the mid-game.
All right, well, we do have no gas taken by jjakji on 12 supply, which means that it's not going to be a refinery for a Reaper opening here. And he's walling in quite fast. What is he walling? What is he hiding? What is his plan here? This is a rather fast wall. Does he just want to not show that the gas has been taken, or is he looking to take it later? There's the answer. 15 gas has been taken by jjakji. This will be, most likely, a factory opening from him. Looking to deal damage fast, and he has hidden that information from Harstem.
Yep. And he's going to continue to do so as well. Now, Harstem...
We don't really know what this is.
Harstem has to be a little bit wary, though, right? It's like, well, why have you walled in this quickly? Why are you not wanting me to get in? What are you hiding behind there?
Is jjakji looking to hide his fast command center off one gas without a Reaper? Is he looking to hide another barracks somewhere? Is he hiding it inside the main base? There's a lot of trickery coming out here from jjakji, which would cause a bit of confusion. Look, already, Harstem, looking around his main base with a probe, just a little bit confused to what's going on. We'll go down and see this engineering bay block now, too.
I think he was trying to sneak around the SCV, right?
Oh, it could have been that, too, yeah.
To maybe get that Nexus down and make sure that jjakji wasn't spotting that coming out. But there you go. I mean, this is a good engineering bay block. And then from there now, there are 2 Marines on the way already over. So...
Gonna pressure that Zealot and probe hit. And while expanding behind it. But as you can see, the gas count is climbing for jjakji. He's aiming for 100 gas. He's aiming for that factory.
I kind of like the way that worked out, if he was actually going to go over there, because, you know, having the engineering bay go down, you are forcing that Zealot to complete, and thus maybe the Marines could have got something done, but it's not the case here. They're just going to come back, and that probe did actually spot that command center, so that's a nice pickup for Harstem now.
And Harstem, upon spotting the command center, should know that there's a gas down. Because he's seen the timing of the command center. What else could have delayed the command center this long? He should know that he's playing against a factory play and definitely should be aiming to get a robotics facility down off the back of this. Stargate can be used, is a little bit more risky in case the Widow Mines do plant themselves, which is highly likely here. Robotics facility is the safer option of all tech.
Yeah, just kind of going straight into that standard mid-game. Maybe we'll even see the Forge come down from there as well. But you do have options, of course, as a Protoss here. You can completely skip a Forge and then go for something very, very aggressive, which is something that we might see Harstem do through the course of today. It's certainly a very strong timing attack if you go just straight to Colossi off the back of the Robo, but we'll see what he wants to do from here. There's the Robo already. Yeah,
robotics facility coming down here will offer him the option to go up to observers to make sure that he doesn't die to a potential Widow Mine play, which he should already be able to piece together as the opening here for jjakji. And so far, things are lining up okay for Harstem. He's read into the game well, and we've really got to look at Harstem as a player who can keep up with a lot of different professional players, but then all of a sudden there's a point where he just slips and the game's given to the other player. So far, he's upbeat, he's keeping everything smooth, he hasn't made any mistakes so far. How long will that last, though?
How long will it? That's a good question. Because right now, you know, he's just cranking these out, but noticeably no Forge gone down just yet. So we may see, you know, a bit more of an aggressive deviation here, depending from him. He has 200 gas in the bank. Could use that.
It really depends on what he's practiced in those 300 games here that he has put into playing against Terran players prior to coming to this.
Ooh, there's a scan. Does spot the Robo facility already, but and it spots the lack of a Forge for now, at least.
Marines moving across, a lot of them. We have 12 Marines at the front door. We do have a photon overcharge available, and we do have 3 Stalkers. So far, all the tools are there with the observers popping out, but is he going to be in the right place at the right time? We got the drop, which has a Widow Mine and 6 Marines, and then another 8 on the ground.
This is actually a huge amount of pressure. If you think about how this is going to play out, if he forces a photon overcharge at the natural, but did that medevac get spotted by an observer? I think it did, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he sees. He sees.
Preparing himself, trying to push this
start.
away.
Photon overcharge on the natural is the second part of this defense.
And there he goes, pushes that away as well. This is a really strong defense so far.
And every time, every second that ticks by is closer to another unit coming out, and is also closer overall to a completely defended game. Good start here from Harstem. Defends the first waves.
Yep. Forged and Twilight Council, as well as the Robo Bay being added on here. So a lot of deviations in the tech coming down. So he can happily go up to +1 armor if he wants to, or if he wants to get really aggressive, goes for +1 weapons. With Blink as well to add on if he wanted to go for a Colossus push and snipe out Vikings would be very, very strong.
Yeah, Colossus push would be a little bit slow to play in this game, but definitely still possible because Harstem has gone in and seen everything's been delayed. When you go for a factory opening like this, Stim, Combat Shields is a big, big delay. He's seen everything. He knows what he's playing up against. He knows how this game's shaped up. And so far, any Protoss player in Harstem's shoes will be happy in the position that they've landed themselves in so far.
Yep. Grabbing himself the armor upgrade here is Harstem, along with all of this. No thermal lance started just yet. 1 Colossus is coming out. You've always got to be a little bit careful if you're going to kind of forego that Thermal Lance for a while, because once again, you know, he baited out the Photon Overcharge before, and this is the second push. Another Photon Overcharge goes down, but all the while, whilst he's doing this, he's keeping his opponent at the back after he's expending all the energy on the Photon Overcharge.
Harstem's wildly out of position right now because he's expecting his opponent to be dropping in the main base at the same time. He knows there's a Photon Overcharge on the natural. He also knows that jjakji is thinking that there should be some units there. Imagine if jjakji run up the ramp to snipe the Nexus, because he could. He actually, well, now I say that without Stim, no, he couldn't, but he could do damage into the probe line. But Harstem's playing his cards right here. He knows that jjakji's thinking there should be some units there to help out. And with this observer there, he spots the starport incoming, so knows medivacs are on the way soon. So now come to think about it, he knows there's a couple out, but he doesn't need to worry too much about the main base. There's not a huge amount of medivacs out, obviously. And now he does come back to the front door. So far, things rather even between these two players. But jjakji is going to push ahead with his income very shortly with his third command center on the way.
Yeah, a little bit of a supply block there for Harstem, getting some pylons out to rectify that situation. But with Thermal Lance finishing up soon, the thing is you just can't have that many medivacs out and have all the Vikings out to deal with 3 Colossi at the same time. jjakji's going to be kind of relying on these little bits of drops to keep his opponent back for now.
Whoop. Big pickup there inside the main base.
Nice. The Stalker's well positioned, grabs himself that medevac, gets himself a few Marines as well, and only loses 1 Stalker for this. Nicely done so far.
Yeah, and he's also got the units on the side with 2 Colossus there. He's more than fine. They do not have Thermal Lance, but 2 Widow Mine placements. This is rather nice. He scans, checks the army out. Will want to drag the Protoss army into those Widow Mines.
Yeah, not the biggest of armies here. Guardian Shield's actually going to go up. The Colossi move backwards because Thermal Lance is not done, so they have to be kept very, very well babysat, and actually just pushes that back totally fine.
Yep, very well done. Very, very well done. So far, the favorite of the group is having a hard time cracking the Protoss player here, who is, you know, coming into this widely considered the underdog. With Blink, he's punishing the movement out here. He's actually moving across the map, realizing he's killed off quite a few units. There's 2 Vikings out, a couple more on the way. With no reinforcement pile on this is a little bit risky, but Harstem does smell an opportunity here. Yeah,
army supply is very, very even, and he's actually just going to continue this on. I mean, if you've got Blink, you don't really fear a whole lot in this spot, especially since his opponent's starport was a little bit, you know, wonky at the beginning, and thus the production of Vikings would have been delayed for the entirety.
Well, I mean, he's pushed his opponent off the 3rd base. He's got a Warp Prism to back this up as well. He's catching a few SCVs, while all of this getting +2 armor, Zealot Charge, and adding on more gateways and so on. It looks like the Warp Prism is going to go towards the main base here. At this point, jjakji will be moving all of his army down to the bottom to try to secure the 3rd base. Makes for a smart move if you can get the Warp Prism into the main.
Yeah, because of how far this is out of position, you're right, it's so true. But now, behind all of this, Harstem's getting himself that 3rd up and running. He's got Charge on the way, +2 armor going down as well. So he's really well set up with the Templar Archives here too. This is doing all right for Harstem.
Yeah, the only thing that he's really lacking is a high gateway count, I think, here. He's only at 7 at the moment, which absolutely should be higher than this by now. And it will be one of the things he focuses on with his minerals next, aside from pylons and so on. At the moment, though, jjakji is being given a fight that he may not have expected to run into.
All of this was spotted by the Observer as it went across it, so he knows where his opponent's army is as well.
Yeah. There are 3 Vikings being made at the same time, and the Viking count is 8, which is starting to climb quite rapidly, which means the Colossus become less and less important in this game. But Zealot Charge is a fantastic upgrade, having those Zealots charge right in, but ideally, you do need to get some Templar out now.
Yep.
Colossus are becoming more and more useless as the minutes go by. And Harstem's managed to escape with a probe down the bottom, by the way. That's kind of nice. Get that harassment pylon out. Get those harassment points in.
Yeah, and that lines up really well with Charge as well.
Warp Prism inside the main base now taking full effect as jjakji's in the middle of the map.
Nice. The reinforcements here for jjakji even are going to try and come out and stop this, so it won't do a huge amount, and the Vikings reinforcing also come along to try and shut that down. So, unfortunately for Harstem, didn't go quite his way.
A good attempt, but the only win he really got there was more time to get his High Templar and Storm out.
Yeah. And the pylon on this left-hand side here, with even more pylons being littered down, could buy him a little bit extra time. Of course, now that the storm is about to finish very soon, if he just chrono boosts into that, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And he already is.
This is a really well-timed for Zealot warping down the bottom left, but that's also very smart from jjakji to have a Marine there to help defend this. He knows now that jjakji's going to attack as the Viking count gets high, but Storm is done. The high tempo need to land the right spells here.
Oh, actually trying to move forwards with a few of these high Templars.
Not the best couple.
Yeah, and now he's got himself way choked up on this ramp as well. This bio is going to have an absolute field day with this. The last Colossus falls, and with that, there's very little left here. Just a few gateway units that the Vikings land for as well. That's how confident jjakji feels in this engagement.
Not quite the tenacious fight that Harstem would have wanted there.
No, not at all. He's harassing on the left-hand side as well, over on this third base, but there's just not much you can do against his firepower. A good storm will hit a lot of this, but without the supporting units to kind of crack down on these units after the storm, it's not going to work out.
Everything was going to plan for the Dutch player until that fight. Everything was working all right until that fight. That was not a good fight, and as you can see, jjakji's taken the lead in this game and has even destroyed one of the Nexus, cutting his opponent's income down considerably while being able to maintain his own.
Yeah, and this Nexus is not going to be sticking around for much longer, unless these Zealots have something to say about it. Also, not too bad feedback, denying longevity on this bio, but even with that position, GG, jjakji was going to take down the Nexus anyway, and he takes down this game.
He does indeed. And jjakji, I mean, that game played out exactly the way that we described it. In terms of, look at how well that Harstem can keep up with a player, then suddenly gone. Like, that happened again here. And he'll be kicking himself like he did the last time they played. They were playing equal, then suddenly he let something happen and the game is gone. In this game, it was the fight, which wasn't ideal from him. But that is jjakji to a T. Solid and consistent, waiting for you to mistake, and then capitalizing on top of it. And that's kind of how that played out. And if that had been a different Protoss player, we could have seen that game go on much, much longer.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like jjakji did anything special there. There was no like tricky little moves to really do a whole lot. Aside from,
I mean, you can argue that he was behind through the mid game there.
Yeah, but once he hits that mid game, man, once he gets that steamroller going, there's no stopping that. It's very, very difficult. And unfortunately, Harstem was victim of that in game number 1. Now he has to kind of tighten those bolts up in game number 2. Otherwise, the same thing will happen again.
Yeah, what ends up happening a lot in the start of a show, in the start of a tournament, a start of a new day, is that all players are equally together. They're all on the same footing, that no one's won a game, no one's got momentum through playing. Despite there are favorites coming into the day, everyone's on the same pegging. But now, jjakji's pushed himself ahead of Harstem, and Harstem's lost that momentum that he could have had coming into this. So now it's going to have to be really down to the Dutch player to dig deep if he wants to be able to tackle jjakji here. Otherwise, as prophecy says, jjakji's moving forward in first place in today's group. Who's going to really challenge him? Who's going to stop him? Harstem is that outsider within today's group. It is difficult for him to achieve. But if anything, to judge by, that first game was a really good start for Harstem here. Yeah,
it was a nice start, just not able to kind of fully round it out in the end. So the prospects are high, at least for him, if game number 1's anything to go by. But the countdown's already begun for game number 2. We're going to be loading up onto Frost for our next map. And again, this is a map where jjakji has a lot of room to maneuver around. He has a lot of room to breathe as well, most importantly. Will Harstem kind of mix things up a bit and get a bit more aggressive himself? I won't be surprised if we saw something like that after what we saw in game number 1.
I mean, at the end of the day, Harstem can't shoot out all his builders and strategies in the first game of the day.
That's true.
He needs to save some of what he's worked towards for the later stages. He has 3 Terran players to play today. That's a lot of builds, that's a lot of strategies.
All right, let's jump into it. Game number 2 now to find out if our Dutch player can tie it up 1-1. And he is spawning down in the bottom right-hand corner as our blue Protoss. It's Fanatics Harstem. And up to the top left-hand corner, currently 1 up, we have our red Terran. It's My Insanity's jjakji.
All right, so I would imagine that jjakji will do the same thing that jjakji does every single time. If you are a Terran player watching this right now and you're trying to learn a little bit about how to play a standard style of Terran, jjakji is a player to follow. And to a certain degree, that's one of the reasons why he's not quite that standout Terran player as well, is because he's so normal. Very standard the way he plays, nothing special about his play, doesn't, outshine anybody in his micro or macro. He's just overall all-rounded as a Terran player. So in terms of his builds here, I'd expect him to be just playing out a solid build again, doing his own thing, and then depending on who the opponent is, usually depends on how the score goes for jjakji. Obviously through mistakes and and so on. But now, are we going to see Harstem start to mix things up? Through all that practice, was it adjusting and building new strategies and builds? Was it just making sure he didn't make mistakes like he did in the previous game? Was it just making sure his defense was overall? Because we haven't really seen too much of Harstem's practice shine through, aside from being solid for the majority of the start of that first one.
Well, I think he's got to shake it up, personally. I think he's got to shake it up, got to do something a little bit different. Because the way in which jjakji played out a game where he was a little bit behind, you know, just kind of continued to run away with it, even though he was in that position. But now Harstem, you know, behind all of this, he's building good walls at least to try and hide things, maybe a little later on. But, I mean, jjakji, he's not really doing anything in terms of moving forwards towards a Reaper, so there's nothing really that Harstem's going to be hiding from that in terms of the walls that he's building. So it's just Command Center first. Yeah,
it looks like Harstem's just going to go for a 1 gateway expansion, which seemed to be his plan in game number 1. And we'll see where he branches away from there. jjakji's the one that switched it up from opening rather aggressive with a factory opening. He's decided to go towards Command Center, followed by a couple of barracks here. Usually it's 3 barracks to back this up because you don't know what the Protoss player is doing, if it's going to be Oracle or Blink play. You usually want a lot of units out. Cutting corners here for jjakji is possible as well. He could go straight up towards gases after the orbitals are done and start looking towards his factory and engineering bay play. And Harstem does scout the Nexus and also throws down his own immediately there.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of a look around. I mean, he can pretty much anticipate what's going on in the main base, so there's not a huge reason to go in there. Maybe, you know, spot any kind of gases. That'd be nice. But
it would be really nice for Harstem if his Mothership Core blocks the SCV scout from scouting the Nexus timing, and also, for sure, getting inside the main base. Hiding information away from jjakji in this game is good, because being a Command Center first player, you are thinking of all the different ways Protoss can beat you. Denying that scout is important to keep him guessing and keep him in the dark.
And he does see the SCV, and he was keeping good tabs and eyes on this as soon as it came in. So
stops the Nexus block, and that's a really big part there for Harstem. That was nice.
Yeah, very well done. So now jjakji's going to feel a little bit insecure. He's actually, I say that, he's actually moving out into the middle of the map with 3 Marines already and sending an SCV down to the bottom left-hand corner, probably to try and scout around the whole perimeter to then eventually get into the natural to see that it is actually there.
Yeah, I mean, if Harstem was going to go for an aggressive play, he'd be moving out, and then the SCV moves in to have a look what's there and so on. But, I mean, he's holding the Xel'Naga Tower, which is really smart by jjakji here. If also Harstem was aggressive, he'd be moving across with a Mothership Core, Stalker, and Probe, and he'd have to go in vision of that Xel'Naga Tower, and he could lose the Probe and Mothership Core, and if not the Stalker as well. So nice play there by jjakji, and also acts as his defense. It's a scout, it's potentially, you know, a nice play to pick off some units, but also it's defense.
Yeah. It's well done. This SCV actually isn't being as active as I was expecting down to the south side, but Harstem is already realizing that that's a potential as well. So with this Stalker in place to intercept that is good foresight there by Harstem to begin things.
But Harstem's just playing pretty standard overall. I mean, there's a lot of mind games going on in terms of what's being played, and even that, with the robotics facility placed in such a way, it is not spotted here. And this is, again, confusing from jjakji, who will have to resort to going home. He doesn't really see the gases too much either, I don't think, if I have a quick look. No, he doesn't see the natural gases, so he literally got nothing from that scan.
Yeah, this SCV needs to do a lot of work, but again, it's being covered by these Stalkers. And there's the Robo Bay, very, very fast, and also where the scan was thrown down. So it's very unlikely he's going to throw down another scan in exactly the same place. So he could get away with this.
All right, well, we do have the SCV trying to break through, does not get any more information. But with units being on the Nexus, around the Nexus, he knows that it's not aggression usually from this point.
Yeah.
He knows that the units were trying to be, I mean, they're trying to block what's there, but you don't need to really worry about being attacked with a big army as jjakji. And he builds a turret, not a bunker. So with the turret is in case there are DTs, potentially Observer comes in, he could get that too. But overall, Harstem's playing very similar to how we played in game number 1, but the Warp Prism's much faster here, which means he's going to be expecting jjakji to move out soon. Therefore, Harstem's going to move in with his Warp Prism. It could be a nice counterplay.
And drops another scan. And actually, it does catch the tail end of the Twilight Council and Forge warping in.
Yeah, this looks like it could be, in his eyes, Templar play. But also, I mean, that is only because he sees the Forge and Twilight Council. Not too much information from jjakji. One thing he can get from that is he's not being attacked anytime soon by a big army.
Yep, a lot of Marines now moving out into the middle as well, whilst he's transitioning onto his starport. At least if something like, you know, a super Colossus push was coming along that would, you know, eventually kind of cripple him, at least he's going to be out on the field whilst he's transitioning to the starport, so he can buy time for that to really ramp up.
This Mothership Core is in a bit of danger. jjakji's avoiding the Xel'Naga Tower. Very smart army movement from him there. If this Mothership Core...
Oh, bye-bye. Yeah. Oh, dear me. That's a big loss. Oh, he actually... They're trying to sacrifice themselves to get it. They do get it in the end. That was very, very close, though. Gets the sentry in the end, but the one Colossus should be out in time.
It is out in time, but that was a good pick-off there. No more energy. Is really good for the follow-up attack for jjakji and also potential drops. But Harstem needs to work with this Warp Prism here. That's his one way to start dealing damage back to jjakji, because he is on the back foot and will be for quite a bit here, losing that Mothership Core. Needs to rebuild energy, can't move out aggressively. He's having a look for these units and seeing where the army is, really. There's 4 Marines going up north. I'm not too sure why, if they were going to go all the way around, but no, they're going to swing back.
At least noticing those medevacs now, he knows that they do pose a threat and he'll have to split his units accordingly, right? But I think by the time they really get into, you know, full focus and where they need to be to put on a threat, Blink will almost be done. Almost. So
this is going to be a nice move, by the way, by Harstem. This can be quite difficult to deal with, especially because it's much faster than last time. Ideally, you'd want 4 Zealots already in the Warp Prism and then warp in even more, but yeah, I think he's going to do that now. Meanwhile, he must lock down his own personal defense at home. He supply blocked for a sec there, which is why he was a little bit slow on that.
Just use the army for a second. Gotta be careful. There's one Zealot now moving forwards into this third base.
The main that has surprised Harstem.
There's going to be a lot of action everywhere if he actually goes into the main as well with the Warp Prism. The cannon goes down. He's going to get that Mothership Core as well. Just a second before it was able to throw down that. And then the Photon Overcharge does push it away. But in the main base, Zealot's going for the harassment.
Yeah, nice drop there.
Alright.
Harstem is starting to clear these units up. That drop does allow him to take his third now. And he needs to be further in his upgrades and continue on with this. Getting that, what is he at 1-1 now? No, okay, 1-0. So getting that +1 attack.
Still the Zealots continuing on harassment, but not doing a whole lot, kind of biting away at some of these buildings.
Yeah.
And that's
really
really
jjakji did have a really fast third. And Harstem knows that too. He's had eyes on that for a long time with his Observer here.
Yeah.
So far, so good for jjakji. Harstem, I'd say, just a little bit behind in this game from this point, as you can see by the income. And overall, we're going to see jjakji start to race up with that Viking count once again. He's already at 4, and he's going to be building 2 by 2 for the time being. A little bit supply cap, which is why he's not currently. But we do need to see Harstem look towards that Templar Archive soon. Otherwise, he would get hit with a very similar attack that we saw jjakji do last.
He has control of this watchtower, so technically he knows that this won't be spotted. But then as that poor Marine gets killed off just at the wrong time, and he does see these 3 medevacs moving out. Thus, the Stalkers can now reposition themselves. I'm surprised jjakji actually hasn't changed the course and direction of these. And we'll drop over here anyway.
Yeah, it has been spotted. Should be dealt with, all right.
Yeah.
Scan.
Oh, wow. He spotted that Observer so well. He like knew it was there and went straight at it and killed it off. That was good.
So the ultimate goal for Protoss, or Harstem in this case, defend these 3 bases like you can...
Like you've never defended before.
Like you've never defended before, like you want to defend your lunch, I don't know. Just defend these 3 bases. This is very, very important to lock down these 3 bases. Do not take damage while building up to a decent army supply. Ideally, and everybody knows, once Protoss gets to having Storm and Colossus is when they're strongest. He's currently not in that state yet. Another Observer pickup, just picking up where Observers usually are, and usually are hidden. You just see the Templar does not know if Storm was done or not, so it's going to be hard for him to just walk in there. He did last game, and it did work out well. But Harstem's surviving, but the problem is jjakji is raising his supply count incredibly fast here. 4 more supply depots, he's going to be able to go up to 200 supply pretty much.
Yeah, somehow, some way, these Korean Terrans have an absolute flurry of macro in this mid-game to the point where they get to 200 so fast on this bio army. And I mean, how many Vikings do you have out right now? 7. Once an extra few come along, if he wants to make some more, this is going to be a terrifying army to deal with.
One difference with the fights is the High Templar must land crucial storms on the army, not the Vikings. He landed all his storms on Vikings last time. He needs it on the bio, otherwise this is going to be too hard to take.
Vikings do end up getting brought down once or twice by those Stalkers there, but they're waning in numbers once again. The bio splits itself up. Zealots on the north really not connecting with the majority of the bio, but
that's
likewise,
a good defense.
Yeah.
This is a much better fight.
Yeah, jjakji just kind of got pushed back.
Yeah.
That was a really odd engagement location to really go for.
Odd engagement, but similar scenario to the previous game. Very similar attack from jjakji, better fight and defense from Harstem. He now adds on his second Forge, which was much earlier in that previous game, if I'm not mistaken. But overall is in good shape. He has Colossus, he has Storm, he has double Forge coming in. He's on 3 bases. He hasn't taken damage. He traded armies there, which was always going to be better for Harstem, because remember the difference of supply was about 30, 40, if not more supply difference between the both of them. Now they're very close in that trade. Good trade, good fight for Harstem, moral victory.
Little attempts at harassment over here, but not really doing a whole lot. And the army has been spotted in the middle as well by the observer.
Yeah.
So that's a big warping of Zealots over on the left-hand side. But he needs to somehow draw his opponent away from the third to make full utilization of that, because it's not going to do anything if he just sends it in. And
jjakji's preparing for the next fight, which is the Ghost, already added on pretty fast in this game. And he is already at 2-2. So everything's kind of working out well for jjakji. Harstem is he's kind of moving out, taking a fourth, which is fine to do. But as you said, needs a distraction for these Zealots to work, because right now, jjakji is in the center of the court, per se. He can bounce left to defend this base. He can easily stim up north to defend that too. He needs to be either in the middle of the map or much further away north or much further away south.
Cool little block up here, which will deny a lot of Zealot harassment for quite a while, especially with that SCV on the other side. So he'll have to warp in a Stalker if he actually wants to bust that location, so he can kill off the SCV.
Harstem's got to get out the middle here. I don't know why he's holding the Selnog Tower with everything. He could lose all of that.
And his Mothership Core isn't with it, so he can't even recall.
Yeah, he's got to get out of there. That's very dangerous. He's got to spread his High Templar out. There's a lot of Ghosts here. Not that many Vikings. He does have 2 Colossus, so if you can get down these Vikings, 2 Colossus would reign supreme. He does land a good storm on those Vikings, a very good storm. And that means Colossus are very good in this next engagement. And now the Zealot harassment takes place.
Yeah, good move here so far. The reinforcement's going to try and clean that up for jjakji, but with the +2 armor that they have there, it's soaking up a little bit of damage against the +2 weapons. At least they'll survive for a little bit longer. A few workers killed, maybe 6 or so,
but
at
still
least he
buys
drew him
himself
back.
more time as well to get up to that 200 supply where he ideally wants to be, and if not, increase his army count and upgrades. An attack up north now from Harstem's going to try and break through that factory so he can start harassing that base. I'd start thinking that when Harstem starts to bank money as he gets closer and closer towards 200 supply, it may be time for the Dark Shrine too, to really increase the level of harassment that he has in this game.
And even photon cannons going down up to the north here. So really trying to fortify this location.
Yeah, and he's got Zealot harassment coming the left-hand side. They should be stopped. jjakji is defending rather well.
Yeah, he's got good unit positioning, that's for sure. So this is going to get pushed back at the north. Down to the south is going to get pushed back as well. As long as he doesn't lose the Ghost to those Zealots, I'm okay with that. It's going to be very close. He actually did. That's not the most terrible of trades for Harstem, considering that the army was there.
Harstem's doing all right. This is okay. I mean, he's not really getting to the economy lines as much as he'd like. At this point, he's just trading army supply for army supply, but he's in the middle of the map again. So dangerously aggressive with his army. And that is a scary Terran army right now. It's a lot of Vikings. They have +1 attack. Surprisingly not +2.
High Templar revealed its position under that scan and does get taken down. Likewise, there's another one over here, but he's separating just a few bio units forwards to kill them off. 2 High Templars for a small clump of Marines and Marauders is all right trade there for jjakji.
Yeah, and Harstem's going to attack these bases again. He's got 3 Zealots up north and some on the left-hand side. He does need to get DTs in this game, as mentioned before.
Yeah.
There are not many turrets on the field here, which means if he destroys them, he would have free reign. There's nothing on that base there, which he sees. But he has been pushed back all the way to his 4 bases now. +3 attack is on the way for Harstem. He does have +3 armor. He needs to spread out High Templar. He needs to land the right feedbacks to kill the Ghosts or storms on the army itself.
Yeah, and with the 3 Zealots up to the north, he notices that there's a missile turret on that base, so he can maybe push the majority of DTs towards the third while sending more Zealots up to the north where the Planetary Fortress is, albeit a bit more fortified. But it's certainly a thing to consider. Oh, wow, missile turrets being added on at this base as well.
Yeah, jjakji's starting to realize at this point of the game is when DTs come into play.
Yeah.
And we see the DTs get warped in now. He's going to target that turret up at the Planetary Fortress and then try to break that down and be able to do the damage there.
Yep. It's an all right choice. Not too bad.
Yeah, it would be really good to try and get a Warp Prism inside that main base. That would be perfect, actually.
Drops the scan right on top of these 4 stalkers like, you're not hiding anywhere.
Yeah.
And another scan goes down in the middle here as well to kill off a Dark Templar. But one actually makes its way in here, gets killed off by the missile turret with the Marines.
Harstem's got way too many probes. He's at 88 probes. Way, way too many. It's going to hurt his overall army supply.
Yeah. I mean,
it needs to be much higher. It should be taking about 15, 20 of those workers away and actually building that in replacement army. That's it's a little bit of a mistake here from Harstem.
Yeah,
it means the main fight's going to be much harder for him to take.
You're right. I mean, look at the army supply right now. 130 against 111.
Jakji's making a move forward.
Oop, that's a big army.
Ghosts.
How many observers does he have? 2, but, well, okay, one of them is with the army. If that gets picked off, though, if he drops the scan and the Vikings kill it off.
Got to get rid of these ghosts.
Nice storm initially. Second storm's pretty good. Oh, third
ghosts
storm.
are gone.
Oh, okay. Bye-bye, ghosts.
But are there any more High Templar? Yeah, from the left-hand side up top.
All right, he's looking for the storms on the Vikings. Catches a little bit of those Vikings on the edge. Warp. He has another storm up there as well.
Yeah, this is good. If he's got an observer with the army, he can charge at this. I don't know if he has or not.
He must do. Where did it go?
Either way, he needs to he needs to stop this base from dying. He needs to charge through.
It's lying at the back there. The Nexus does end up falling. We have a bit of harassment going down in this expansion over here, but for now, jjakji's job was kind of done to kill off that base at least.
Yeah, the harassment's been really good here from Harstem. He's got Zealots on the 3rd. He's also got Stalkers on the high ground on the 4th, preventing that from mining, choking his opponent's economy, who is without a 5th base for the time being. Harstem's back at 200 supply. He's warped in a lot more units, and he's really building the Nexus that he's lost. Also, a 5th base up to the top. An opportunity may present itself here for him to attack. He killed all the ghosts. If I was Harstem, I would be really focusing heavily on my gas count and start throwing Archons into the mix. Couple of High Templar, couple of Archons, that's very heavy Marauders. And without many ghosts, without many EMPs at this point, it's going to be more difficult to kill that army. Some Protoss players even think about building Immortals into this part of the game as well against this composition.
Yeah, I mean, with him being maxed out now, it gives him the opportunity to be expanding whilst trying to find other routes to put on pressure to his opponent. I mean, he could find that base down to the bottom left.
To be honest, that is the point he should be attacking.
Yeah.
He's not really, I think, if he thinks he's confident to fight, he may be mistaken here. You don't ever really want to fight into a Terran player or Terran into Protoss. Depending on how the armies are, it is harder for the aggressive player. He should be aiming for the 5th base. You've already hurt the economy. You've got 5 bases of your own. Do you need to fight right now? But he's prevented that 5th base from being used. He warped in Zealots, which does the same job here. That is the focus point. Stop Terran from mining, and you're in good shape, especially with the income that he has.
Losses very, very close to one another, just slightly in favor of Harstem, so he's doing a pretty good job of holding on. He's actually trying to fortify the middle of this map with photon cannons.
Makes Ghosts a lot more useless in the sense they can't just cloak in and go in. They also have added protection, and he just holds the middle of the ground, which is very important. It means he can swing both ways and prevent his opponent from mining his say.
This can kill off a few of those cannons at least and maybe get a pylon, but...
Good storms on the Vikings. At this point of the game, Colossus, when they have these upgrades, are almost unstoppable if you have a high counter them, because Vikings won't survive long enough.
Yeah, nice blink forwards there to kill off 1 or 2 of them, and we have the Zealots harassing this base as well. Harstem is playing a great game out so far.
Yeah, definitely. Very good game from him. I've been focusing on getting some DTs at turret, but overall, hold the middle. Don't rush an attack. You're winning the game. Don't throw this away.
Yeah, and this base is now mining the income, looking vastly superior here for Harstem, who has fortified the middle of the map. He's got a lot of High Templars in reserve if he needs them. He's got pylons everywhere to keep on harassing. Here come the DTs up to this base at the 4th. Get that missile turret and then plow on forwards.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. Especially because his opponent is running out of scans, needs the scans, and is also starving. jjakji needs a 5th base. If he doesn't take a 5th base, the next fight that happens, if not that, the trades that are happening, Harstem is replenishing with the money he's got banked up, whereas jjakji isn't doing that because he doesn't have the money. And now with his turret gone, the 4th base exposed, jjakji's slowly dying in this game.
Yeah.
Without a big move from jjakji soon, Harstem will equalize this series.
He will. This is doing very, very well so far. 150 supply against maxed out Harstem, who... Well, he moves on forwards a little bit there, but all he has to do is bring the High Templars once again from reserve. There are 2 ghosts in here that have been spotted once again by the Observer, really not doing a whole lot. The High Templars were moved back very, very wisely by Harstem to protect them from those EMPs.
And another turret is going to be focused down here to get those DTs in action.
And even with that, any forcing of a scan is pretty good here. Like, even just the force of a scan, considering he's so starved out and choked across these bases, ideally he would like to be dropping mules at the corner bases that he's taken. But
I mean, it's almost time for jjakji to take that fight that you don't really want to take.
Yeah.
It's no longer equal army. You have a massive supply advantage. You can also warp in 15 additional zealots as reinforcements after the first waves die.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the minimap to see how well Harstem is playing in this game. Very, very strong position he's established himself. His Stalkers will die off to the north, but he's basically saying, I don't need to take a straight engagement. If you want to keep doing this, we can do this all day long.
Absolutely. The more expansions he takes, the more money he has, the more units he can throw at jjakji to keep on wearing him down. That is the case.
Good little defense down here with the cannons as well, killing this off. Storm will land to push that away, and this was jjakji basically realizing how well established his opponent is. He has this base down there. He doesn't know about this one on the right-hand side, but it's been mining for so long. jjakji's he's on the ropes. He is on the ropes.
Yeah, and Harstem's played this out very, very well here. He's kept his opponent locked in his corner. He's disallowed him from taking a 5th base, and it's just continued to expand. And this has been really, really smartly played from Harstem. A little bit shaky in the early to mid-game, but once he got up here, he's looking pretty good.
Uh-oh. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, SCVs. Oh, and he doesn't pull them away either. 59 workers have been killed here. 8 and 7, respectively, on those High Templars. A good little move, and all of this choking out. jjakji's got to be feeling the pressure.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, he needed to make a big move a long time ago. Because now he's only at 100 supply, and that big move's a pretty small move.
Continuously good control of these High Templars to kill off ghost after ghost. And with those dying off, they are not cheap. They are really not cheap.
The Vikings are dying to Storms here, and the Colossus is still alive. 5 of them. With a big warp and a Zealots here, he can fight this again. There's also flanking High Templar available in a couple of seconds from the left-hand side. And overall, just good game.
Wow, GG. Harstem tying up the series 1-1, and with a very, very impressive game. You know, I have to eat my words. I was saying, well, I think Harstem probably just has to get aggressive here. We saw how strong jjakji was in the mid game, but that game proved that Harstem's able to hang with the big boys.
If Harstem can survive the mid stages of the Terran versus Protoss game, then he seems to be able to play the late game quite well. So that's where his real key strengths are, is in the early with the builds and the way that he shapes up, and then the late game. His middle game does need work here for sure, but if he doesn't make mistakes there, he's looking pretty good, and he's definitely given a fight to the favorite of today's group. And if Harstem can beat jjakji, then who is to stop Harstem here?
Exactly.
Because everyone else is a lesser version of jjakji to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, Harstem came in, or comes into this group still as the underdog, technically. If you compare him to the 3 Terran players that we have had come into this group, he hasn't quite hit those results. But one thing's for sure, looking at these past 2 games, especially game number 2, is that the focusing and the honing that he has had on just Terran specifically has paid off relatively. So who knows what can happen here for Harstem.
And so far, with Koreans looking to start their campaign here in Season 2, not the ideal start here. This is the first Korean game that we've seen in Season 2 within the Premier League. Of course, Group A and Group B were without Koreans. And now we have jjakji playing, and he's tied up against Harstem. Harstem winning this would dramatically boost his chances of advancing out of this group and looking at a potential back-to-back Premier League. Of course, if he gets to the round of 16, whoever gets to the round of 16 does land themselves an attained spot for the Premier League in the following season. And, well, Europe is doing well so far in the Premier League.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so our third map for this series is going to be Altazim Stronghold, which, if Frost is anything to go by for a player like Harstem there, if he can get past that mid-game like you're mentioning, this could be a good opportunity for Harstem. But you've always got to be so careful about the potential drop threats on a map like Altazim Stronghold.
Yeah, which is why a lot of Protoss players like to use Phoenix here to be able to stop the drop play and also be able to run around the map and put pressure on the Terran player. This is a large map. Some say this could favor Harstem coming into this because of the way that the map is so large and the difficult time that jjakji will have to try to break him in that mid-game. Harstem, see if he can do it. This would be quite the story here.
Yes, it would. We're all tied up 1-1 as we load up into game number 3 here. And as you say, Harstem could do this. He really could. After seeing that second game, the way he established himself on the map, if you give him that opportunity, he was all over the place. Absolutely. So really, really strong play.
Played it in the most frustrating way for a Terran player to approach a Protoss. Very, very difficult to deal with that. The harassment on multiple fronts, the cannons and pylons in the middle, the fortifying of the middle of the map. Good play.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 3 now. One of these players is going to advance onto the winner's match here on Altazim Stronghold. And spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our blue Protoss. Representing Fnatic, tying it up 1-1. It is Harstem. And down to the bottom right, we have our red Terran. It's My Insanity's jjakji. And the spawning positions, I can't help but feel, are already working in Harstem's favor.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. This can be nice for him here. His back base is tucked away, which means jjakji would need to fly units all the way around to the top left to be able to get some damage dealt. But we'll see how this is going to play out here. Does Harstem want to play the same? Robotics facility, safe opening, safe Colossus play into a, dependent on what happened in the game, third base being taken? Or is he looking to really change it up now? He used, the last time they actually played this map. I think it was the first or second map that they played. And they went here.
At Sea Story?
And Harstem did play with Phoenixes.
Okay.
But that was kind of the old style of how this was played out a good couple of months ago. But since then, we've seen such dominant play with Widowmine play and just overall Marine Marauder Medivac Widowmines. It's been not as successful, the kind of Phoenix to Storm style. So Harstem may just fall back on his typical Colossus play again.
And luckily for Harstem, he's going to get a good scout off very, very fast and feel a bit more comfortable about what he's seeing, because he's going to see a gas timing. He's going to see the barracks finishing up. So you can expect like a Reaper or so to come along and start poking around.
Yep, can expect a Reaper. Ideally with the probe, what you'd like to do here is you go in, you say, okay, cool, most likely go on Reaper here. But then leave with the probe, then to come back once the reactor's been built. Some Terran players don't even send the Reaper out now that they've seen the probes there, because they know that probe should be looking to go back in, usually, to spot, is it factory? Has he taken out a gas? Can I harass the SCV building the command center? jjakji, by the way, if you notice, he's taken out a gas after 100, which is for the Reaper and then the reactor, for a faster command center and also faster barracks. But Harstem is hiding this probe in a very weird position.
Yeah, he is.
I wonder what he has planned here.
jjakji's come along and having a little bit of a look around himself, scouting out his opponent first and knowing that his opponent had to have spawned at a close after seeing the timing of that probe coming in. Second one is going to come down and try and defend against this and push this away from the natural. Does get this natural down. Proby, what are you up to?
That probe is in a location where it's not exactly close to be able to go in and scout what's going on. It doesn't really have intentions to do that. He's going to proxy something, just depends on what it is. He's got a very late second gas here.
Yeah, he does.
It should have already gone down, which would help him if he was looking to be able to, source the money for a Stargate or something. This is going to be very confusing for jjakji. If we don't see Warp Gate Research or a Stalker made, he's saving gas. And so far he is saving gas. He's got 150 gas. Stalker is made, so it drops down. What is that pylon for?
It could be for mind games. I mean, I don't see why he would, hide an extra pylon.
Yeah, but the Reaper hasn't scouted everywhere, though, inside the main base. So, I mean, I don't think jjakji would think about that so much.
Yeah.
He actually is sending an SCV around, though.
Oh, okay.
I guess he is just,
Well, he's going to spot it eventually.
Yeah, I guess he's... No, he doesn't spot it there.
If he keeps going, though.
Yeah.
But
maybe it is, like you said, maybe it is just mind games, though. The robotics facility comes down anyway. jjakji wondering what Protoss could throw at him here. And it is, as you say, nothing. He didn't use that pylon. There's nothing there.
He's just chilling out over here as the little probe dude. So the Reaper's even coming along to help out. So something has triggered jjakji.
Yeah.
Something has to have. And eventually he'll go down to this pylon location by the looks of things with this Reaper. So it looks as if he was looking for something like that. But behind all of this, it's pretty... Oh, he actually turned around.
Yeah, he should turn
Oh,
back
he did.
again.
Yeah, he saw it. And the SCV actually found the
finds the probe, too. So finds the pylon and the probe.
I mean, it's good scouting for something that isn't there, but Yeah, cool stuff. That pylon down to there as well also can have good uses later on because you warp across the rocks, and that's always helpful for harassment. But, yeah.
Yeah, it was good for the Reaper to look around. jjakji definitely on his toes there on potential strategies that Harstem could use. But jjakji's opening as well is a little bit different to what he's played out so far. It's actually double barracks. And he hasn't decided to go for the concussion. He's still worried about potential DTs or something.
Yeah.
Really, really cautious right now, jjakji. Does not know and does not want to risk anything here in terms of what Harstem could do. But he's got 2 barracks, factory, and engineering bay. I mean, much faster play.
With the Reaper, going in there and seeing only 1 gas like it did, is something like a Dark Templar play really that viable?
It still is possible, yes. Especially if you cut out the Warp Gate research and a Stalker, for example, which he did at the start. I mean, he had money for 150 gas for a Stargate off 1 gas. You definitely can do it.
Well, he's getting in here and having a little bit of a look around. He sees the Robo Bay with this Reaper.
And that's
so
a
he's
big
got
scout.
Yeah, he's got to feel way more comfortable now as to how he did previously.
Yeah, he was very worried against anything that could have hit him here, but now, you know, he's fine. He sees that nothing can attack him now. The Robotics Bay coming in, great. He's got his starport up. Great news from jjakji, because that, as you could tell just by the way he was playing, was a little bit frustrating for him not to know what was happening in this game.
Observer now coming in, having a look around, and really doesn't see a huge amount other than the fact that the starport is now starting to churn away. And once again, wow, jjakji, he has the eyes of a hawk. He spots every single one of these observers. Really good play there by him.
Well, we'll see if Harstem has similar eye vision here, because he's got a lot of units outside his base here, and he does not want to be making mistakes here with Stim available on all of these.
Oh, it does have energy for a force field, so can throw that down if he needs it. And it's going to decide not to go up. So 2 Marines die off, or 3 in fact, for their troubles.
Warp Prism once again, and it has proved quite useful for Harstem. Not so much with the damage it deals, but so much more with the time that it lends to Harstem's favor.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Harstem, having that observer sniped off at his opponent's main base, he's not going to get eyes on his opponent's 3rd base too easily. I mean, you can kind of infer if timings are normal and from jjakji that's going to be the case, but still, you want full confirmation.
jjakji's hunting for the back here. Mothership Core already in position, and units aren't that far away either.
Yeah, he's positioned himself well to deal with it.
He scans, he sees the army's not there, and he's going to come around for this. But good army movement from Harstem.
Yeah, he actually pulled it out of the scan there for a second just to try and draw this in and get some damage done himself.
Yeah, definitely good army movement. But that is very threatening to Harstem, that jjakji is very capable of dropping there. He almost dropped towards the back. He tried to drop the main there.
Yeah.
And Harstem getting Blink, adding more gateways to make sure he is secure. But he is playing on the back foot. A Protoss player on 2 bases should not be broken by a Terran player also on 2 bases at this point. Any damage dealt here by jjakji is a big win, and shouldn't really be the case.
I don't think he's going to get too much done here either. He's going to get pushed straight away. And that was good sense by Harstem, because he did not see the position that was dropping in. Maybe he saw the direction from the observer in the middle, but that's about it.
And Harstem bought enough time for himself to have a decent enough army to be able to take his 3rd base. Not sure if the Warp Prism got spotted there or not, but he's able to take his 3rd now. And from this point is, once again, Harstem should be looking to get the +1 attack, should be looking at defending these 3 bases. Remember the crucial part of Protoss at the moment? Do not take damage still on these 3 bases. Build yourself that army. Get up in terms of supply, get up in terms of upgrades, start thinking about adding on that Templar Archive soon, because you know that your opponent's going to be climbing up in Vikings. But overall, jjakji at this point, he hasn't dealt damage, but he hasn't also lost anything yet, which is also key to remember. He's also flying ahead in terms of his own supply.
Where did he drop that scan just then? But
I wasn't looking.
No, I didn't notice either. I even selected
on the 3rd, probably, because he sees the 3rd building, maybe? I'm not sure.
I saw that with the Marines, so...
I don't know then.
Oh well. We have Harstem throwing down pylons in the middle of the map as well, just to start that harassment later on once he gets to that position. But I don't think jjakji knows fully about the cannon
I think Harstem should have an observer where the medivacs are at the north now.
Yeah.
Because he could see this and give himself a bit of a heads up.
Yep, that was the best observing of all time. Going to drop now and kill off that photon cannon pretty quickly, but photon overcharge. The Mothership Core was there from the very beginning anyway, and focusing down one of the medevacs is a good key pickup there for him. Very important to do that so you can deny the retreat out. And there's a little poke at this, but not really too much.
That was another win, small win, or you could say not a victory picked up there for jjakji, who's still looking to crack that Protoss player. jjakji's at a very good SCV count already. 74, about to be 8 Vikings, about to go up even higher. There is an opportunity for another fight soon, with 4 Vikings coming out at a time shortly. Definitely another opportunity. 3 Colossus. Storm is on its way, though. It's kind of hard to hit that timing. He may hit when there's only a couple of High Templar, though. He's
going up to 80 SCVs. Isn't that a little bit high, or does he kind of adapt to the map saying, hey, well, it's a little bit longer for you to get over here, so I can probably get away with that kind of economy?
He's okay on 78. It is a little bit high, but he's okay on that.
All right, well, he's going to try and pressure the third maybe here. He's setting up in a good position to try and do that. How many Stalkers do we have? 9 against the 9 Vikings. It's going to be very difficult for them to take those down.
Storm is 10 seconds away.
He needs that.
Definitely needs that, but he looks okay and he looks in good position. And he will hold these 3 bases. So, again, another part of this game moved on. And it's time for Harstem to start doing some damage with this Warp Prism down the bottom. Another scan on top of the army. Does reveal an observer there, eventually.
Really well played so far, and killing off observers. He sure likes those.
I mean, if you think about what we talked about with Harstem, he does okay in the early game and does very good in the late compared to that. Well, I mean, if we look at that last game.
Yeah.
But he's surviving the mid game for the time being, which is the part where he struggled in game number 1 and where jjakji found his victory. At the moment, Harstem's surviving and he's climbing up in supply fast. He's got Storm, he's got Colossus. We are going to see a fight soon from jjakji, of course, but the thing is, will Harstem take a good fight again? He doesn't know the army's moving out. He's missed it in the middle of the map here.
That was so close as well. The Vikings now position themselves above here. Might be
nice
good, but yeah, picking off 1 is all right.
Where are the High Templar going on the right-hand side?
Not sure. I guess he clicked in a bit of an odd spot, but they need to rendezvous back with this army because Ghosts with personal cloaking.
Double drop here. Double drop. Oh, good feedback. Two good feedbacks. Killed both the medivacs full of units.
Nice.
Both
Very
medivacs
well done.
full of units.
That's a good pickup for him. Very good. Army supply now technically in Harstem's favor, and he alleviates that.
Look at the units lost tab. Harstem's just pulling the right defense at the right times. jjakji cannot break this guy. jjakji has not found any weaknesses like he usually does against Harstem. Harstem's pulling out the good game. He's moving out now with 2-2. He's got a good army.
Spots the entire army in the middle of the map as well, so he knows exactly where his positioning is, and he's replaced that pylon down to the south.
Oh, another great blink.
Yeah, trying to pick off these Vikings. Good storm to ward them away.
And now the Warp Prism as well. Harstem's playing much better than I expected him to do today. All credit to him. Like, he's playing really well against jjakji.
Yeah, could quite easily break through.
And there's a Warp Prism inside the main base. This is fantastic news. He can warp in a good amount of units here.
Yeah, good maneuver indeed. In the meantime, though, we have...
Ooh, he's going to try and move down to the 3rd while doing this. Little bit risky, but could work well if he finds himself in a good position to take the fight while the Terran's clumped up.
How many Vikings does he have? Okay, 7. 3 more are going to be on the way, but that's going to take quite a while. 7 against these 5 Colossi. They're not going to kill them off too quickly.
No.
And Harstem could establish himself a very good engagement position here.
Oh, cloak activated. No observer.
Observers, where are you?
No observer.
Okay, those are some good EMPs. Very good EMPs and snipes. That's going to deny any kind of push here from Harstem.
There's an observer right there, though. It's there now.
But the army
behind.
He's got to be so careful. The blink forwards with these Stalkers to try and catch the Vikings that were flanking from the right-hand side, but the Bioforce is still tremendously strong.
Yeah, good fight there. And there's no High Templar. Oh, there is one with energy. One on that right-hand side.
Got to get some 6/6 storms off, that's for sure. Snipe goes down.
One snipe. He moves the High Templar back. He's got to keep that safe.
This army's doing a lot of damage to the Zealots.
jjakji walks into that one.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. Very, very careful. Dark Shrine's being added on as well behind all of this for Harstem. So the harassment's going to continue on. It's not going to subside even with him doing this. And look at that huge drop.
jjakji, big move here, realizing that his opponent's taken a 4th in the middle of the map pretty much, I suppose, on the right-hand side. This drop is going to really pull Harstem out of position. There is one High Templar, but this is a really good move.
Yeah.
A feedback's really good here. It can pick off one of the medivacs.
Oh, tries to grab a few,
missed.
but doesn't get the right ones. And in the end...
Really good move by jjakji.
That's
Very
so
nice.
much power. So much power. That Nexus absolutely plummets in terms of health. Upgrades go down as well on that first forge. So does the Robo Base, so no more Colossi for a while.
Yeah,
Big
DT's
powerball.
walked in to defend.
Yeah, not too bad.
Good move, but he lost a lot of supply. Ideally, wouldn't have liked to have lost that much, and there is an opportunity for a counter-attack here. jjakji lost a lot. He'd have to fall back to his turrets and his defense.
Going to break down those rocks down to the left-hand side, though, so he can also pressure this base. But eventually, it's going to become a planetary fortress and harder to crack. Oh, Vikings for free. That's a good little pickup there for Harstem. And he is maxed out. 134 armor supply against 93. If there were any time in this kind of stage of the game, it would be now in terms of how powerful his army is in comparison.
I mean, if you look at the army supply, 134 to 110 for Harstem. He does not have the right upgrades in terms of like +3, which would be nice. Would be really nice, especially considering his opponent does have that. And he does have the Dark Shrine too, so we got to talk about, you know, the turret picking off on that 4th base, the harassment from these Stalkers. Harstem is going to move to the 3rd here.
And actually, he might end up pushing this. A lot of the forces were drawn down to this 4th base.
2 DTs, they pick off the turret, and then there's 2 DTs that can move around here. There are scans.
I think if we look and evaluate at how Harstem played the 2nd map, I don't think he's actually ever going to go for a push for a long time.
Yeah, he needs to start thinking about a 5th base then if he's not going to do that.
That's true. That's true. There's Nexus finishing up, but it's at the
Remember, jjakji's got a hidden base towards the bottom left too, which has gone unscouted and just kind of tucked away there.
Yeah. Not being too much mindful now, but again, it's that investment later on that can really pay off for itself if he drops a few high Templars. If he drops a few mules there. Gotta be careful.
DTs do get out of the scam range. jjakji's definitely meeting his match today. This is not the way that jjakji was expecting this. As mentioned at the start of the show, I'm pretty sure jjakji was rather relaxed and composed going up against Harstem. He beat this guy rather easily last time they played, but it's not the same player today. And Harstem's practice is really showing here. Yeah,
it is. Good bunker setup here, though, by jjakji, anticipating this coming along. You don't normally see this, but there you go. Anticipating his opponent's moves very nicely. And he has the sensor towers as well to end up spotting any kind of movement out in front of his bases. So he's really set up and hunkered down on these bases so far.
jjakji is refining his army, though. He just sacrificed, 20-odd SCVs so that he can lower that, so that he can increase his army value here, adding on 4 additional ghosts and on more and more units. And there is a drop here for jjakji to the top left, which could do damage on that 5th base.
And Harstem, I feel he's anticipating his opponent's next base being here or here, which unfortunately for him, it's just not the case. There's a base over on the left-hand side that he's exploiting. So Harstem needs to eventually realize that this is the case.
Well, this could be quite a long game here for both players.
A little bit of harassment as well. Not doing huge amounts. I mean, 26 workers have died off so far.
Yeah.
But that's just pushed jjakji down to about 56, which he's going to be comfortable on anyway. Nice storm on this left-hand side, but in the end, didn't really kill more.
Yeah, but compared to the previous game, Harstem is not getting to the economy lines of jjakji. He's not harassing, and getting successful harass down, which means jjakji's army is pretty strong and is kept strong. And also, the stream of income hasn't really changed for jjakji in this game.
That's a big
much
push.
different game.
Yeah, it's a bit of a push through the middle, but I don't think it's going to really do anything. He has to pull on back. He doesn't want to be going up against this army, especially with, ghosts, bit vulnerable, tries to catch some of them. Desperation EMPs land on some of those Stalkers to try and push it back. But those High Templars, despite taking an EMP, they still have a bit of energy left.
Yeah, it was pretty good for jjakji there.
Ooh, that's a lot of ghosts. That entire army is going to get absolutely blanketed by those EMPs.
Yeah, and that means the Vikings can go to town on these Colossus.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice snipe.
Nice wave from the Colossus there on the front of the ghosts. jjakji needs a lot more. I mean, not jjakji, sorry. Harstem needs a lot more storms where they came from.
Yeah, a nice back and forth so far here, but jjakji looking to press on. This army is so scary from him.
And also harassment coming in from Harstem while this is going on towards the 3rd by the looks of it.
Small little engagements up to this north.
That was a nice dance in the middle.
And he's going to try and bring down some of these missile turrets, leaving this base open. But there's not really a whole lot mining at this base now, and he finds a room to drop over here as well, which all gets brought down by a storm.
Yeah, good harassment. And still, it's going on in the middle still. There's still dancing between them.
Needs to land the EMPs and snipes. Ooh, a few feedbacks on some of these ghosts, but some of the High Templars end up falling.
One storm kind of... Well, the army sat in that storm for just a little bit there. Nice feedbacks, and jjakji can't break through. Every time he tries, his army gets worn down.
Yeah.
And Harstem's able to keep the supply advantage here while getting the harassment on.
I mean, the battle of High Templar and Ghosts is just never going to subside. It's 16 High Templars against 11 Ghosts.
Yeah.
But for jjakji, his mineral income isn't really that amazing. So he needs to kind of even that out and get some income going. Otherwise, he's going to get a bit starved out again.
Yeah, this is difficult here. The Viking count is good, but they really need to get rid of these Colossus. And Harstem's moving down here because jjakji's whole army's chasing a DT.
Yeah.
And Harstem's like, all right, if you want to do that, fine, I'll take position on the low ground here, which makes it very hard for jjakji to move down this round.
Exactly. I mean, there's not really too many High Templars at the front. He does have a few. The scan goes down, though, realizing that they are there. A lot of, well, 2 or 3 EMPs actually eat up a lot of the shields.
Observer's gone.
Uh-oh. All right, that's bad. That's very, very bad. There are a few more, though, to support. If he can bring one to the front, that would be okay.
He has to turn around and fight here no matter what.
Yeah, the Vikings just chewing things up. Oh, gotta be careful.
DT picking off the command center in the second base of jjakji. Just doing damage wherever he can. Harstem backs off and he reinforces, replenishes that army. He's back up. And through having this really good income,
yeah,
he's able to just, you know, once again, chip, and then turn around and get ready to fight again.
And the thing is that once the Colossi are all gone, there's 2 right now, there's so much dead weight in this many Vikings, and he's still replenishing Vikings. He's actually going up to 2 more, so he's going to have 16 Vikings to go up against 2 Colossi. Yes, yeah. Once they die, it alleviates the problem, but on the ground, they're really not that useful.
Harstem's army control has been pretty spectacular in this game. Something that's really stood out for me in this series is Harstem's control, apart from Game 1, which is a little bit of a mishap, but Game 2 and Game 3, much cleaner and smoother. And we're definitely seeing the repercussions of that come through as he's leading. In this game, he's looking at a victory right now. He's just got to seal the deal.
I mean, yeah, leading in this series and taking this series is massive for Harstem. If he's able to prove that against the favorite of the group, he's going to be able to move on all the further. A lot of Zealots now positioning themselves on this right-hand side. He might come in from both sides here. He has a little bit of a back to kind of replenish. Catches a few of those Vikings with the Storms, a little bit of the bio as well. All of the Zealots are gone, though. So I don't think he can push forwards towards that because he just doesn't have anything to tank.
So many different pylons, cannons, you know, just everywhere. It's really hard for jjakji to just move forward. There's a Zealot somehow that's got into the back base again. There's Stalkers on this right-hand side, left-hand side, sorry, trying to get to this expansion again.
Still so many Zealots warping in, and again these cannons keep pushing further for Harstem. It's a cool little move. I mean, he's basically just claiming territory closer and closer to the borders of jjakji.
Harstem's finally started to click that how is he doing this with so little income, and he's actually scouting around with Stalkers on the left-hand side for that hidden base.
And pushes slightly forwards. That is the worst storm of all time. But
it's like a trip-up storm. Oops, tripped.
It was the banana peel storm, man. But, oh, okay, that's a lot of EMPs. He does not want to be fighting anytime soon. Just pull back to the safety of High Templars and cannons.
Yeah, and now he's found the base. So a couple of DTs, a couple of Zealots will chew that all up. Just get rid of the turret, you get rid of that base. Very simple there. And he's going to send a lot of Zealots that way. He's just realized that that was jjakji's lifeline in this game. The thing that's keeping him alive. It's the support that's been aided. A nuke coming in from jjakji. Has to cancel that, as he was being targeted by 2 cannons.
Nope, still a push forwards. Tries to land a storm on some of this army, and those Vikings are becoming very, very lackluster and very low. But now, I don't know. I mean, like, once jjakji realizes, wait, how many Zealots are over there? There's quite a few, but not enough to really push forwards against this.
Well, harassment's going into that back left-hand side there.
Good reinforcement there by jjakji, though, to keep this alive, because he knows of what importance this is once his opponent actually spotted it.
Yeah. Definitely need some DTs over there.
All right, well, he's just going to continue establishing himself in the middle of the map, which, again, is becoming harder and harder as time goes on to really break. EMPs, again, catches a High Templar with another EMP and snipe combination. Tries to push against this, brings down a cannon, will bring down the second one, and moving this entrenched position back a little bit.
Yeah. Harstem's still definitely leading this series, just because of the money that he has in the bank here. Very equal in supply. And jjakji needs to keep that even, if not in his favor, every fight they take. Ideally in his favor, because of the money that Harstem has to back up what he wants here. jjakji, who's in search of a final this year, you've got to be able to, you know, beat Harstem if you want to be able to win tournaments here, jjakji. So this is not the way that he envisioned this to go down.
Another engagement through the middle here. Gets the snipe out and also a few AMPs. There we go. Watch the nuke for obligatory reasons. And, oh, DME, these ghosts get completely caught off guard with those storms, taking out quite a few of them, but at the same time, pushing Harstem back. Once again, that entrenched position at the front of jjakji's bases has been broken, as is the second one moving back. Harstem getting cheeky and trying to expand over to here. I don't think that's going to work out.
Yeah, that's not going to work out at all. And if these Vikings turn around and get rid of that Colossus, I think jjakji can turn around and fight that army. And he's also unlocked a new army from a new expansion for himself.
Yeah.
If he's able to mine from that while being able to keep that other base in the bottom left going, jjakji's not out of it yet.
But now the kind of plan for Harstem kind of clicked with us a few minutes ago when we saw these extra robos being thrown down. He's been trying constantly to barrage against this army, get that Viking count down. He knows his opponent's a little bit starved and then replenish off 3 robos from there. But you know, jjakji's knocking on his door. He's still maxed out almost. So
Harstem's running out of money. You know, he's the guy who's had all the money throughout the game, and overall, I suppose jjakji's just been more efficient with his army, which in the case, this has been this time. But Harstem was meant to be able to keep up expanding like he did in the previous game and just keep on onslaughting his opponent. But now it's Harstem's turn to start to run out of money a little bit here. Not in what he has banked up, but in his income. He needs a new base soon. He was meant to take that one there and keep the front pressure on, but he's lost that position. Yeah. He has to re-expand to the top left. And this does give jjakji an opportunity to take this base, to mine from this base, and to keep the pressure on himself.
Yeah, likewise, got to commend jjakji just in general for the recovery of the position that he was in. I mean, Harstem now taking bases up to the north. He could have arguably have taken these a little bit quicker. Not too bad, 1 or 2 volleys there from the Colossi. Equal Storm also kills off a little bit of that bio, but not too much.
All right, what is jjakji's next move? Just establishing this base. What's Harstem going to do? Decides to send a wave of zealots down here. I guess that's really smart because that means that jjakji has to come back to defend those zealots, which does make that frontal position much weaker, where jjakji could go up there now. I mean, Harstem could go up to that new economy.
All the zealots going into the infrastructure.
Nice move. I really like this move by Harstem. This is a really, really good move.
It's going to cause a lot of havoc in the main base.
I mean, what does jjakji do? How much does he send back to defend? If he sends units back to defend, Harstem takes the high ground on this new base. Yeah. Beautiful strategic move there from Harstem.
I mean, the reinforcements aren't going to be anywhere near enough to really hold on against that. Stalkers blink up onto that high ground now, using that vision from the Colossi, and he's got to be careful about how he positions himself still. He's trying to get this command center, but doesn't in the end. Good storm on the high ground.
Yeah, really good positioning.
The Stalker's trying to drag those Vikings away, but still, look at this. The Zealots wreaking havoc. Ghosts have cloaked up to try and deal with that. And on the left-hand side, a big warpins to start assaulting that base once they're finished.
Yeah, that's Sentry's interesting there.
Oh, sick. Guardian Shield! Oh, wait,
I'm
it's
not too
going to take
sure
a while.
What that's about. Maybe they just hold units in position, I'm not sure. But interesting move, but good attack here from Harstem. But jjakji overall dealing with it. Oh, did he lose the planetary?
No, it's not dead yet. He keeps on repairing.
Oh, another big warping from Harstem. He's throwing a lot of money at this.
Yeah, that's big investment, but it could yield high rewards if he's able to get this base. It is relatively, I mean, the last mining base here.
Yeah, he's going to get it now. He's going to get it.
Okay, so bringing that down, all the SCVs desperately building supply depots over here, but now jjakji's going to have to rely on this base that he has to establish somehow, some way, right next to his opponent.
Big win getting that planetary now. And it was right to spend that much money and stopping it. Good move to try to pull jjakji to his main base and so on, but it has been cleaned up now. But that was the start of where this game really went back in Harstem's favor. The move of the Zealots down to the main base, the army going up to that middle base, and then that big attack on this left-hand side. Beautiful step-by-step moves there by Harstem. He's established himself a new base, but it looks like jjakji does smell that out.
Yep. Catches it up to the north, so these cannons are going to finish so barely out of time to finish up with those cannons. Even the High Templar ends up dying off, drops the scan, kills the Dark Templar as well for good measure. Good reading of the situation there by jjakji to kill that off very fast, but more Dark Templars try and come in, and he needs to drop another scan.
He needs a scan up there, otherwise his DTs will clean this all up.
Oh, they're going to get them all.
Yeah, and that's good defense there. From Harstem. So much action all over the place here. These Stalkers was a fantastic warp-in as well, if you were following what Harstem was doing.
Oh, getting Vikings. He can't afford to lose them. He has no minerals.
Yeah, and he even just sacrifices them because he knows he can replenish them. Yeah. Doesn't really pick off what he wanted there, but that was a decent jump. jjakji down in supply. 160 is starved. He needs to keep that mining base active. A good move again from Harstem. Going to try the same move he did earlier. Bring these units down to the south and then move up forward once again with the Stalkers again. Suffocating his opponent. Good move.
Very well played out by Harstem, gotta say. Continuing on here, we're at a 40-minute game right now, and
just constant action back and forth. Nice little moves by both players. But it's Harstem is continuing to edge out.
Absolutely. It shows that practice really does pay off in this situation. Harstem has really honed down on this matchup specifically. Yeah. And look at this, a huge Zealot warp in to start pressuring this location, which, I mean, with this base never really gathering momentum. That base down to the south is his last mining.
All right, a big move. jjakji has to do something soon, otherwise Harstem's going to take this series. And a couple of good storms there. He's trying to bait the army into that nuke.
Yeah, I love this. Oh, and actually, oh, no, there's no way he can go. Oh, he's actually going to go. Oh,
no.
Okay, don't go.
Takes a little bit of damage, loses the High Templar. Nice potential move there from jjakji. Could have been a game changer.
Yeah, very, very good positional defensive location whilst bringing down an expansion.
But another good move of Zealots to the main base.
Oh, just keeps
that one can't be
on.
answered for this time. It can't be answered for.
Not at all, especially with a few good volleys. Good storms as well, killing off a lot of those ghosts.
This is going to be it. This is going to be it. jjakji's just moving forward in frustration. Everything damaged.
The Zealot warp in as well. There's really nothing for it to answer for here for jjakji. As I mean, his army is all but crippled. If he gets a few more
Here we go.
shots,
this is the last battle of the game.
Bye-bye, bio. GG. Harstem takes the first series of the day in what I consider to be a massive upset.
Yeah, that's right. As mentioned at the start of the show, since September the 11th, we've only seen one player advance, being the 4th seeded player in the group, which Harstem is. Only one player has done that across 14 different groups. Harstem's looking to change that today.
Yeah.
And a fantastic start for him. Really good. He really wasn't meant to beat jjakji, but like you said, practice pays off.
Very, very impressive stuff there from the last, well, the single Protoss in this group. One Terran now finds himself in the lower bracket of this group. But that doesn't wrap things up for Terran, as we have 2 more on the way for you very, very soon. It's going to be Bunny versus Yoda after the break, so join us here after that for the WCS Europe Group C.